One of my favorite questions I get every year from wheat farmers across the country is, how do I increase my protein levels? My protein levels last year just weren't that great.
Well, it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes with wheat. You have this great crop coming and then you have a protein issue where your protein is not as high as you'd like, you get a discount, or they may not even want your wheat. Wow! That's got to be a frustrating feeling, but there is a solution to getting that protein up in your wheat, and you can control this. This is one of the things a lot of farmers just feel, I can't control it. It's whatever Mother Nature's going to throw me, and it may be a curveball, it may be a great year, but no, you can control the protein in your wheat.
Yeah, and all it comes down to is having good nitrogen availability, especially late in the season. That's it. There's nothing that's real complex about this. So you might say, well, I put all kinds of nitrogen on early in the year. Yes, you may have done that, but where did that nitrogen go? Did you get excessive rain? Did it move down through the root zone? Maybe that nitrogen got used up just in making more yield. Okay, so we've developed all the components of yield. Well, that leaves less for the protein later in the year. I mean, you've got to have adequate protein in your crop if you want to get top price for it, but you also want to get top yield. So, I mean, there are two separate things that the nitrogen is used for. If it looks like you got a great crop coming on and you're going to have this high yield, you better get some more nitrogen out there just so you have a good protein level.
Well, here's one of the things that I think a lot of farmers struggle with. When we look at the very high yielding producers, and I don't care if we're talking about wheat or soybeans or corn or whatever crop you want to look at, those guys aren't looking at, well, what's the least amount of trips that I can make out in a field? I just want to plant, spray once, and then harvest. Those guys don't look at it that way. In fact, you look at last year's highest yielding corn producer in our country, he fertilized his corn 9 times. 9 different times. Now you say, wow, I can't afford to put on that much fertilizer. He really didn't put on that much fertilizer. He just put small doses out all through the season to make sure that the availability was good, that there was always plenty of nitrogen and other nutrients there that his crop needed. And it's the same thing with wheat. You can do the same thing in your wheat crop. Just put a little bit of nitrogen out multiple times throughout the year.
Yep, but you might not have to do that either. What it really comes down to is what's your soil like and how much rainfall are you getting? In other words, with your soil, what's the cation exchange capacity? Take your cation exchange capacity number, multiply that times 10, and that'll tell you roughly how much nitrogen your soil can hold at any one time. Okay, let's say you had a 10 for a CEC, you multiply that times 10, your soil can only hold 100 pounds of nitrogen. I mean, let's face it, that's not going to cut it for high-yielding wheat. So you've got to split apply your nitrogen. You might have to go out there 2 or 3 different times. That's just the way it goes. And you say, boy, I don't want to do that. Well, you know what? If you want high yield and you want good protein levels, you're going to have to do it. The other thing to consider is it's the best thing for the environment. If you put way too much nitrogen out early in the season and it goes down, where's it going? It's going to end up in somebody's water, and we don't want that, and that gives every farmer in the country a bad name.
One of the challenges for all farmers is there's so many different products to choose from out there that, there's a lot of misinformation in the industry. For example, there'll be some low use rate, supposedly very high availability fertilizer that you say, well, this one says if I use 1 gallon per acre, it'll be like putting 50 pounds of nitrogen out there.
I know.
It's not 50 pounds of nitrogen, guys. It may give you a short-term boost, but it's not 50 pounds of nitrogen.
But that's not to say that there aren't some good concentrated products that can give you a boost. But yeah, you're not going to get 50 pounds out of 1 gallon. So some of the claims that are out there are a little ridiculous.
Well, you're certainly not going to make up for not having a good program to start with. You've got to have a great base program. You've got to put on, like Brian said, what your soil can handle for nitrogen early in the season, and then supplement it throughout the year. Don't think, well, I didn't get my nitrogen application on, I'm 100 pounds short, so I guess I'll just use 2 gallons of this product. That'll make up for 100 pounds. It's not going to happen.
Now, here's the other thing that you might want to consider is using a nitrogen stabilizer. And I know right away you might say, oh, it seems like a waste of money. No, the nitrogen stabilizers actually have some good benefit. We've been working with them on our farm for a number of years. We strongly suggest you do that. Another thing you can do to increase nitrogen availability late in the season is increase your organic matter levels. And that takes time, but if you plant high residue crops and reduce your tillage, you can get there. But again, it's not going to happen overnight.
One of the things too, Brian, is a lot of farmers say, well, how am I going to get this out there? If I've got to put a whole bunch of nitrogen out late, it's probably going to have to be liquid so I can get it into my crop. But man, if I broadcast spray liquid, that's going to burn my crop.
That's right. You're going to burn your crop big time. So what a lot of farmers are going to is putting these, what we call stream bars, right on their sprayer. So it just allows the nitrogen to drop to the ground in a concentrated stream rather than broadcasting and covering all these leaves. So it gives a minimal amount of leaf burn and the maximum amount of nitrogen actually hitting the ground.
Well, when we talk about protein in wheat, it is something you absolutely can control this year. There's still time.
Yep.
If your crop has a little ways to go yet, what you need to do is have good nitrogen availability, especially late in the season. You can control that on your farm.
Well, another thing that's important if you want good protein levels and good yield in your wheat is controlling our Weed of the Week. We'll tell you how to stop it coming up later in the show.